After the drama filled NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series season finale at the Phoenix Raceway, Corey Heim was penalized for crashing Carson Hocevar out of the race. Heim was fined $12,500 and docked 25 driver points, dropping him from third to fourth in the final standings. While racing for the championship, Hocevar spun out Heim, who later retaliated by putting the Nice Motorsports driver into the wall. Now, despite Heim claiming that he didn't do anything intentional on Hocevar, NASCAR reviewed his team's radio transmissions and determined that he violated three areas of the rulebook. Number one, attempting to manipulate the outcome of a race or championship. Number two, wrecking or spinning another vehicle, whether or not that vehicle is removed from competition as a result. And number three, any actions deemed to compromise the safety of an event or otherwise pose a dangerous risk to the safety of competitors, officials, spectators, or others. Photo here taken by Chris Grathan from Getty Images. Now, Matt, you haven't had the opportunity to weigh in on the Heim versus Hocevar controversy yet. On Monday's Grid Live Encore show, Ben and Brandon spent nearly an entire hour discussing this topic alone. As Ben says here, what a pointless penalty. So, what are your thoughts on the incident between Heim and Hocevar? And does this penalty really do anything to send a message to the Truck Series drivers?
Well, as regular viewers to the show will know, I'm so far behind on this kind of stuff in terms of catching up and watching it. But Kobe alerted me that we were talking about this. I knew something had happened, obviously, over the weekend. That it had been a bit of a bonkers race at Phoenix on Friday. At what did it finish at 1 a.m. local time? I think ridiculous. That I needed to watch the pictures and come up with some thoughts for this topic. I'm not going to spend an hour on it like Ben and Brandon did on Monday, but I will. I'll try my best. There's been a lot said about Carson Hocevar over the last couple of weeks. I listened to Denny Hamlin's podcast today, and they were all over bagging him for a bit of this stuff and for the fact that he spun Ty Gibbs in the Cup race at Martinsville last week. They didn't mention that Ty had bumped Carson out of the way in the corner before at Martinsville before getting spun back out by Carson. But that's by the by. In this one, the incident where Heim goes spinning looked a bit like a racing deal, but when it's two championship drivers crashing into each other, then and Corey was, I think he was in the third, he was the leader of the championship four at that point. Then he was obviously going to feel mightily aggrieved by that. But there was, when this secondary incident happened, there was still laps to go, and they were third and fourth of the championship four at that point. I think there was 20 something laps to go from the clip I saw this evening, but there's still time. There was obviously still going to be more cautions. So I don't understand what Corey was thinking here. He let his emotions get in the way of the incident and not focusing on trying to win or get as best result as he could and potentially winning the championship. And clearly from the images, you can see that he slowed down and kind of waited for Carson and then took him up the track at turn two and fenced Hocevar and fenced himself, which is rule A. If you're going to take someone out, don't crash yourself. The penalty, why didn't they park him at that point? Because he's clearly taken one of the other championship four guys out. If that had been a non-championship runner, say a Stuart Friesen or a Matt Crafton at that point that had crashed Hocevar if something had happened earlier in the race, they probably would have got parked. So, if Heim had then gone on to win the race and or the championship, whichever way it ended up falling, then what do they do then in terms of giving him a penalty? But the money is nothing, but the points penalty just puts him back to fourth position in the championship standings, which, as Ben says, is absolutely pointless. Just why that? But I guess they've shown to be proactive in doing something. And as I said to Kobe before we went on the air, with what happened at Martinsville last week in the Xfinity race and this crazy truck race on Friday, you kind of feel like, thank goodness it's the end of the season, so all these guys can go and cool off somewhere and get it out of their system before we get back to Daytona in February.
Definitely, Matt. And now, before we continue, we have some comments in the chat room. Behind the Mic says, well, it did cost Heim a spot in the final championship standings, so a monetary fine plus the money lost with that lost position. And Ben replies, fair, but Heim is one of the top Toyota prospects. I don't think he or his team are going to lose too much sleep over what equates to a slap on the wrist.